Welcome back to Animal Crossing New Horizons. I'm Dear Darling, and shall we see what's going on our lovely island of Fawnhallow today, where we'll be relaxing as per usual. Bank holiday Monday here in the UK, the last holiday, I suppose, of our long weekend. We'll miss it so thoroughly. Well, to be fair, we actually have another holiday coming up very soon because we have the May Day one, which is in 2 weeks' time, I think. But yes, it's been nice. Longer, or would I have desired it been longer? Maybe, yeah. I think so. It's nice to have a time of relaxation every once in a while. But hello everyone. Right now in Fawnhallow, it's 5:18 PM on Monday, April 21st, 2025. What are we going to talk about today? I'm not really sure. I've been watching a lot more Only Connect. I've finished now the episodes in the most recent series 20. You might be like, Dear Darling, how good do you think you would be at Only Connect? I don't know if have I ever spoken about Only Connect on Animal Crossing before. It's a British quiz show, if you don't know. If I've not spoken about it before, this makes a great topic for us to talk about due to my recent watching habits is such a weird way to put it. Only Connect. I'm not. Let's talk about Only Connect. Only Connect is, I would say it's my favourite. Is it my favourite TV show of all time? Maybe that's a bit much, but it's definitely my favourite quiz show, and it's one of my favourite TV shows. But it's a British TV show hosted by the lovely Victoria Coren Mitchell, and it's essentially a quiz show which rewards not only knowledge but also sort of lateral thinking, kind of. I'm not sure lateral thinking is quite the right word, but being able to find, I suppose, patterns within the knowledge that you know. So it's sort of like a double-layered test where it's both a test of like literal knowledge and a test of logical inferences. So how it goes, it's between two teams. Two teams are free, and essentially the overarching idea is that there'll often be groups of 4 clues for a question, and they range from the most obscure clue to the least obscure clue, usually in order, and you get to reveal the clues one at a time, and the more you reveal, the lower points you'll get for that round. And the overarching idea is to find something which connects them. In the first round, you got to find what the underlying connection is between all of them, and in the second round, they'll show you up to the first 3 clues, and you need to say what the 4th clue would be, or the 4th one in the sequence. There's also 2 other rounds, but we'll get onto that because I think we have easy explanations. I think the first round is kind of the key point of Only Connect. It's a one which is sort of like the titular thing. It's about you finding the only thing which connects these 4 things. That's, the namesake of the show itself. So I'm trying to find out what's a good example. Actually, I can think of an example I've had. It's not a great example because it's not a simple one necessarily, but there is one which I think it genuinely is one of the harder music questions there's been, but I remember it because I got it right. But essentially there were there's most of the rounds are like written word rounds. Actually, here's a good one I can think of off the top of my head. Like there's one of them which, oh no, hold on, that's not a good one. What's a good one? Maybe something like, how about something like this? What's it called? Like, you might see the first clue, and it might be something like peacock mantis shrimp, and then it's worth 5 points if you guess a connection from this, and most of the time teams don't guess from the first clue because you kind of need 2 clues to be able to make like an inference of a point. But sometimes if there's something so unique about that clue, you'll be able to figure it out. Like one round I can think of, which I actually did get on the 5, is as one clue was Perry the platypus dash, or like colon, and hat. And there's only basically one thing, which if you know who Perry the platypus is, a character from Phineas and Ferb, you would know that basically he looks to his arch nemesis Dr. Doofenshmirtz like a normal platypus until he puts on a hat, and then he's identified as Perry the platypus. That is something which would be guessable at 5, because you could be like, okay, then I think the underlying link, without seeing any of the others, would be something about disguises, and that being the titular like reason for their disguise, or the titular clothing item in their disguise. And then like the other clues, I can't remember all the other clues, but one of the other clues, which I think also illustrates something in the same line, is like Superman and glasses, because when he's disguised as Clark Kent, he puts glasses on, essentially. There's some other ones as well, but I don't remember what the others are. But like basically people who could not be recognized until they have their titular clothing item on or something, or not on. I think another one was the one from Chicken Run or something. It was like the penguin, which has like a rubber glove hat or something. But anyway, the audio clue one, sometimes they have image clues, sometimes they have audio rounds as well. There's often one of each in the first 6 questions in the first round. The one which I got was one from the semi-finals, where the first song played was Somewhere Over the Rainbow, and then the second one was Let It Go, which I think I got at this point being like, oh, these are songs sung by orphans. And then the third one was Food, Glorious Food from Oliver, and the fourth one was It's a Hard Knock Life for Us from Annie. But you can see the progression of how the clues get more enlightening to what the theme is, I suppose. Like you now know that those are 4 songs where all the characters who sing them, or maybe most of the characters, I can't remember about Hard Knock Life, are orphans in the story. But you can see how like the first one's Somewhere Over a Rainbow, you know, that's like so ambiguous to begin with. Like Dorothy, like it's not like the first thing people think of when they think of Wizard of Oz. Oh, Dorothy's an orphan. That seems a little bit crazy. But then you get Let It Go in, I mean, you're like, oh, okay, so this is interesting, you know. Certainly there's like a musical film element going on here, but that seems, if anything, far too easy for a clue, for only connect. But also people don't really think that, oh yeah, Elsa, she's an orphan, but it is a pretty big plot point because you see her parents pass away in the introduction to the movie. Then you get to Oliver, and obviously a big component of Oliver is that they're all like these like street urchins, these orphans, or etc. It's not like the key component of the story, but it's like a key definition of who these characters are, which should start to hint you on to maybe the orphans. And then you get to Annie, whose the entire like plot point is her in that orphanage, and like A Hard Knock Life is a song about it being difficult, life for orphans. So you can see the progression of like how it gets from more obscure to more on point. But there's often like, there's a whole range, I suppose, of different topics that they can call upon. I remember the ones which I answered correctly better than the ones I didn't answer correctly. So that's perhaps no surprise there. I mean, I still have one of the videos open. I say right now, series 18, episode 4. Like, the first clue is duel, the second is Thelma and Louise, the third one is quadrophenia, and the fourth one is the Italian Job, in brackets nearly. I didn't get this one because I've not seen any of these movies, but the linking theme is that they end with a vehicle going off a cliff. So you can see how obscure they can be. They can draw from history, they can draw from geography, they can draw from anything you would see in a regular quiz show, and that gets encapsulated within Only Connect. Now, that's just the first round, essentially. You have 4 clues, and the earlier you buzz in, the more points you get, and if you don't get the answer right, the other team has a chance to steal, I suppose, where they can get 1 point for answering correctly. If you get it immediately, it's 5 points, then 3, then 2, then 1 on this round. Most teams, I would say, get it at 2 or 1 point. 2 or 1 point, depending on how obscure the clue is. I've only seen, like, a handful of times the teams have jumped in at 5 points. So that's normally... It normally has to be that first clue is so illustrative of a point that there could be essentially nothing else. They're taking a gamble, or they know a lot about that first clue, essentially. So it's a very rare thing. But yeah, it's obviously a huge risk. Like in this question, with a vehicle going off a cliff, like you can't just buzz in after duel, because duel could be anything. Could it be duel the movie in this case, or could it be duel as in the 1-versus-1 fight between 2 combatants, or could it be something else? I don't know. Could it be like they often have like very wordy clues, wordy questions as well, where it's just like, oh, if you take a letter off, you get this, or something like this, or you change a letter and something like that. The second round is similar in structure, where there'll be 4 clues, quote, quote, except for the 4th clue is a one that you have to fill in, and it will form a sequence of some kind, where you can start at the beginning and you go, and there's a logical sequence which goes through to the end. I'm trying to think of a good one off the top of my head. This is difficult to immediately think of.
There was one, like, a fiendishly difficult one, which I can't remember the exact numbers, but it was basically, I think it was like 3 by 12, and then like 2 by, it was 3 by 12, 2 by 20, 3 by 13 was like the first card, and then it was like 3 by 14, 3 by 15, 3 by 16, and then it was like 3 by 17, 1 by 50, 3 by 18. No, it must be 3 by 16, 1 times 50, 3 by 17, and then it was like, what's the final clue? What's the final card that you had to fill in? And the final one should have been 3 by 18, 3 by 19, 3 by 20, because the question was basically, these are the highest scores you can get in a round of darts. Something like that. With one throw? Now I'm thinking about it, I don't know how that makes sense. Because, can you not get multiple bullseyes? No, sorry, that was it. It was what was the highest score that you can get by throwing one dart, not 3 darts, sorry. And of course, like, the 1 by 50 was meant to be like the big clue there, which is why it comes up with the third one, because, you know, it goes 3 by 16, like a treble 16 will get you 48, and then 1 by 50 is the next highest, not treble 17. And then treble 18, treble 19, treble 20. Like, the sequence is always something which you could conceivably work out or say. They would never ask you for something where you couldn't, like, plausibly figure out the answer. Like, they wouldn't have, like, oh, what are the to the power of 8's values of, like, 17 or something. Like, they don't expect you to work out what 17 to the power of, like, 64 is for the final sequence. It would always be something. But the key is understanding and finding out what the logical through line is from start to end, rather than the actual literal definition of the endpoint. Most of the time. But again, they can draw upon a lot of different things. Like, there's one which was like recent, like, I can't remember, like presidents, or I forget the leadership role in, like, Czechia or something, going backwards. They often have some very sort of tricksy ones to try and, like, really make you think. There was one of them which was like the 4th most densely populated states, or not US states, but like independent states, and like Monaco was the last one, something like that. It's all about the logical inferences that you can gather from it. So you can see how it's both like a knowledge quiz, where it's like, okay, I have to know, like, after seeing the first 2, that these are like pretty densely populated, like, independent states or something. And then I also had to know what the 4th, and then I had to have knowledge-wise, I had to know what the most densely populated state is. But also, you got to have a logical through line to be able to get from one start to the end. So those are, like, I think the sort of the epitome of Only Connect. Those are most illustrative of what Only Connect is. But then the third round is something that I think will be rather familiar to most people now, is the New York Times connections. This is what I think the connections must have been based off of, but it's often called the wall. And it's a lot more fiendishly difficult on the quiz show, unsurprisingly, because those are all people who have signed up to be pub quizzes. Well, not pub quizzes, but quizzes in general. But you're given, if you don't know what New York Times Connections is, it's a really fun sort of like daily challenge, and it's a lot more approachable. But essentially, there's a 4x4 row, 4x4 grid of different clues. And then what you're aiming to do is to group them into 4 groups of 4, where there's one singular thing, or one thing which connects only thing. Connects all of them, like all the ones in the group. So there'll be 4 different connections, essentially. And the important part as well is that this grid supposedly only has one solution. I'm not sure there's ever been a grid which had multiple solutions. So there'll be a lot of, like, red herrings in there. Like, what's a good one? Like, there's one which was like, I can't remember the exact things, but they had like a group. One of the groups was like Jewish, like, holidays or something. But then another one of the groups was fruits with an extra letter added. So then Pesach, I don't know how you say it, Pesach, could fall into both of them. It's both a Jewish holiday, and it's also, if you remove S, would make peach a fruit. So it's a fruit with an extra letter added. And the whole basis of this ward is being able to identify which things are red herrings, because there will be often times where you'll be like, oh, this must be a group of, like, river fish or something, but there's 6 fish on here. Which ones are the misleading ones? Then you've got to find what the other groups are to understand what the actual valid configuration is, you know, to put things together. That
and therein lies the difficulty. But I think most people are kind of like familiar with it now if you've played New York Times Connections. That's essentially it, except for New York Times Connections relies a lot less on sort of like esoteric knowledge. It just relies more on the general trends and things you can garner from it. Yeah. And then the fourth round, I think, is the most approachable round, I think, for most people. Only Connect is a fiendishly difficult quiz show. So if you ever do watch it and you go, I don't know what's going on, I can't answer any of these questions, you're not alone. It is very difficult for a reason. I would say it's not to the difficult knowledge level that university challenges, but it's a different type of challenge where it's a lot more like of not just knowledge, but also like a logical extrapolation. But university challenge goes very, very sort of like specific and esoteric with their knowledge, in my opinion. But yeah, the final round in Only Connect is the missing vowels round, where essentially there will be an overarching theme or topic, and then they will give you what the answer, something which falls into that category, but with all the vowels removed. So, like, what's a good example? One of them might be like, I guess I could just make up one, but let's say video games, because we all take video games here. And then, you know, I can type it out for you. You know, you might see something along the lines of like NM, and they often put like random spaces in to throw you off as well, so you can't just like sort of read across and know what words are what. But you might see something like this, and you would have to say that you buzz in and go, the answer is Animal Crossing. There's a video game series. And then they often like to throw in like little tricks and things like that, or things which are, you really had to use sort of like your lateral thinking brain to be able to put in the vowels and fill in the gaps to know what the answer actually is. I think it's the most enjoyable round because it's the most approachable. It's more about speed rather than anything else, because you're competing in a buzzer battle against, oh, I didn't mean to do that, I meant to sit down, against the opposing team. And it's also, I think, where a lot of the points can be scored, because it tends to be a lot more easier and approachable. But it only lasts for about 2 minutes or so it's not like a huge amount of points can be scored. But again, like the topics can be really, really difficult. Like one of the ones in the Series 20 final was something like, was it like the only way is Essex actors and their memoirs or something? And it was like, that's so specific. And like, I don't think anyone buzzed in for almost any other questions of that one because it was just so difficult. But I absolutely love the show. Like I love watching it. You might say, how many other questions can you correctly answer? I would say that every episode there's at least, in the earlier rounds, it's a lot easier. I would say that maybe there's like 4 or 5-ish questions which I can answer. And I can have a stab at like maybe it's like there's about 2 to 3 that I will answer definitively correctly, and then there'll be like maybe 6 to 8 which I can have a guess or have a stab at, but like whether they're correct or not, I suppose, is almost down to luck because I don't know the answer for certain. But then when it gets to the final, it's sort of like it was a miracle that I could even answer one of them correctly. But really, a lot of it's down for me as a casual viewer to luck about if I can get a question right or not, mainly because I don't have a lot of like trivia knowledge, I suppose. Like while I certainly do a pub quiz with my friends, I don't really try and like learn things for trivia or anything like that. I'm just going off the raw knowledge of things I have, as most casual people are. I'm not saying that's like a special thing or anything, but the people on the show are obviously people who wanted to be on the show and thus are presumably pretty good at quizzes and pretty good at this sort of knowledge-based things. So it's unsurprising that they're on the show in the first place, because they're the ones who will know kind of what's going on. But yeah, all I mean to really say is that I absolutely adore that show. I love watching it. If you haven't watched it, definitely, and you like quiz shows, I would give it a watch. I think it's very enjoyable. And I think the satisfaction and feeling you get from being able to answer one of the questions is beautiful.
It's a beautiful thing, especially when you can get it at 5 points and the people who do the quizzes can't. Not in like a Schadenfreude way, but it's sort of like, it gives you that feeling of, oh yeah, I could compete with the best on here. Honestly, you couldn't, probably, unless you, well, I mean, you would know if you could or not, but I don't know, it's fun, isn't it, right? To sort of like feel like just for a moment that you are competing up there with the best of them, even if you know that you aren't. Like, obviously I don't think anyone's taking that particularly seriously or anything, mind you. It's just more of a sensation of like, yeah, you know, imagine if I was on that show, I could get the dopamine hit from answering that one correctly. Anyway, Only Connect, lovely quiz show, absolutely adore it. Go watch it if you like quiz shows. If you don't like quiz shows, that's up to you if you want to watch it or not. But I'm going to round this episode off here. So if you have been watching, thank you very much. It's been Animal Crossing New Horizons, and I've been Dear Darling. Likes, comments, subscription, shares, greatly appreciated. Socials, Discord down below. Hope to see each other again. But for now, it's our farewell. So until next time, bye-bye for now.